Welcome back to the Diamond Matter channel. If you're new to me, thank you very much for clicking on this video. I'm Chris Bilton, I'm a jeweller from the UK. I have over 2 decades experience making high-end bespoke handmade jewellery, and last year I moved to Japan, so now I'm here unemployable as a jeweller, so I'm making jewellery making instructional videos for YouTube. So enjoy, I hope they're useful to you. Today, kind of quick one, I'm not going through making this whole collet. So today is a video, we're not making anything, but I'm just giving 2 examples of how to put claws on a collet. So say I was making this collet, yeah, got a daylight hole in it, I want to put claws on. I know of 2 ways which are kind of good. I've got my way which I always use, which I prefer, I think is a bit better. But there's another way, and it is actually potentially easier. So it might be something you might choose to try rather than the way I usually show on my videos. This video I'm just going to concentrate on putting the claws on. I'm not going to talk too much about checking your angles and stuff. So anyway, for my usual way, which you may have seen in previous videos, start with a little saw cut going up and down. There's a lot to discuss about getting things the correct distance and angles for stones and stuff, but I'm not going into that today. This is just about putting the claws on. So I would start with that. I mean, me personally, I would go straight to a cylinder phrase, but you can make it a bit easier for yourself by going next to a needle file. It doesn't matter too much what, but as long as it's got a kind of sharpish sort of corner. So just locking it into that saw cut, going up and down, just opening it up a little bit more. Right, again, not going into detail with this, but you need to select a phrase ideally smaller than your claw. You can go straight up to the size of your claw, but very unforgiving if you go slightly the wrong angle and then have to correct it. You've then got a kind of space either side of your claw when it's sitting there, which has to be filled with solder, so it's not ideal. So get one just under, I think. So that's just over 1 mil. This is just on. Hello. Oh, battery's going. This is just under 1 mil. There we go. Hold it securely. Bit of lube. Just open it up. Make sure you're holding it exactly the angle you want the claw to sit at. Don't go like that. Just only go down, keeping it straight. Oh my god. So do you know what I mean? This is a bit thinner, so if I wanted to pull it left or right or tilt it one way or the other, I can do so without ruining the fitment of the claw. So this is my preferred way. Basically, you get your line in the position wherever it's got to be, and phrase it out, so you're dropping the claw into the side. And I think once that's in position and it's soldered, it's as strong as it can be. This is my preferred way because you've got a lot of control on the angle that your claw ends up at. Also the distance you're going into the collet, because that's something that needs to be considered as well. Like say this is a 4-claw collet, all 4 have to go in the same amount, otherwise it can look a bit wrong. So this claw could be soldered in there, but I've got this phrase that's a little bit more similar to that one. So I think you can get away with one just a touch bigger. When I say a touch, I mean I'm talking like 0.02 of a millimetre. Like hardly anything bigger. But ideally, as long as you've got it, just go up to the same measurement. Deeper you go with this, the stronger the solder is going to be. But then you're going too far, the claw will look kind of just sort of a bit flat and lost in there. And next stage, once you've got your claw in there and it's all phrased out correctly, it's sitting at the right angle, I would hold it in my tweezers for soldering. So there you go, that's another benefit. It's because it's sort of locked in there. There is a tiny amount you can move it. Like I know you've cut that groove for it to sit in, but you can, with your tweezers, pull it one side slightly and get it to sit slightly differently. But any big kind of changes in direction, or angle, sorry, you need to be adjusting your phrasing. But there, you can hold it in there really easily, easy to solder. That's a good technique and the way I always make them. Okay, that's the first way, my usual way, the way I recommend you do it. But there is another way which is possibly easier, so you might choose to do it this way. I mean, it's no problem with it, but I don't think claws are held on as strong as the usual way of cutting the groove for them. But if you're making something for casting, it might be fine. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean. You need a pin vise. Lock that in there. You need to know what kind of distance. Let me give you good examples of how to work. Like, don't just guess it. Open up your dividers and know a little bit further than the distance you need, up and down the side of that. Hook it on the end, put a line on there. I don't know if this is clear on the screen, but there's my little line I put on there. Get that down to the chuck in your pin vise, very close to it, because you want to reduce the risk of this wobbling about, because we're about to start cutting it and filing it. So with a saw blade, preferably quite a fine one, that's not too teethy. This one's a little bit big, but I think I'll get away with it. And let me double check, this is going to be in focus for you. My videos are always out of focus. Hold on to it gently. Make sure the wire is supported by the wood and you're holding onto the vise nice and strong. Carefully cut into the claw. I would say go down like a third. Go down a third. Don't go any more. A quarter or a third. Don't even go to halfway. It's a little bit borderline pushing your luck if you go down halfway. So a third, I'm calling it. Get a needle file. I would love to get a whole new set of these needle files. These are literally, majority of these files are like over 20 years old now, and they're all worn out, and I hate them. So, let's state this. I like this. I used to use these all the time, these safety back files, but I've got two and they're so worn out I don't use them that much anymore, but I miss them, so I'm going to replace these soon. I like it because this edge is useful. I'm going to hook that in my saw cut, holding this up at an angle a little bit, and just file down a little bit. And as I get going filing, I then flatten it. We want a nice flat section off the side of this claw. This is why I recommended putting it down up to the chuck, because it's less likely to get pulled about and bend out of shape. I would always start it off like that. I think I may be tempted to get a paper disc and just zing it down. That'd be a good way to work on this. Because it cuts the metal away but doesn't pull on it at all. Have a look from the side, see if I go in. Okay, a bit more. But yeah, try and keep it parallel to that back edge. You don't want to be going sharper or obviously going down more at that end. So have a check every now and again on the side. So with that flat little edge there, you can hook it on the top. That can now be held in position. One benefit of doing it this way is if you did get it in the wrong position and you had to take it off and move it, you can do so, and then it would just take a simple little bit of paper in to get rid of any little solder marks left behind. And then your collet is still fresh, ready for putting a claw on. The way I like doing it, it's quite severe. You can't move a claw easily. Maybe I've got experience and a bit of confidence I'll get it right, but this way might suit people a bit more who are learning or just figuring out the best ways to proceed with stuff, because it's a bit less devastating to the collet because you haven't cut a big groove in it. And also it's quite kind as well. If you need to tweak it left or right, it moves quite easily. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to solder these in side by side, and then we can look at them closely and then see if there's any like real benefit of doing it one way or the other. This is the claw that I cut the groove for, the first one. So one thing that's nice with this, that's just locked in position and I can just proceed really confidently. It's not going to move out of place or anything like that. If you did cut a groove and you do end up having to move it, it's not the end of the world. You can do it a small amount anyway, but you are going to have a little space next to your claw, so you're going to have to sort of add a bit more solder than usual. Try and fill that space up. But you can get away with it and it can look perfect after, but only if you did it really neatly. So just so you know, there's no tricks or editing or anything. This is just freshly soldered, hasn't been in the acid, as you can see. I put a little bit of solder there, then just pulled it through, went down both sides of that claw nicely, and I put a little bit of solder there, there and there. So that's really strong and soldered really well, really easily. So it's a good technique, which I always use. All right, so second one with a flat on it. Now, straight away, a bit more tricky to get it to sit in position. I'm not saying it's difficult, but it doesn't lock into position like that one. But with tweezers, should be able to just hold it quite easily. When you're putting claws on your collet, if you've got tweezers, quite sharp ones, if you just hook one of the points down slightly, can help you hold claws in, because without that, they kind of don't quite close nicely at the end, and then you end up sort of pulling the claw away from the side of the collet. So anyway, for whatever reason, hook it down, and then it holds things flat against the outside a bit better. Apologies for the dog yapping outside. So yeah, a bit more fiddly to hold it in position and then get the tweezers on, but not too difficult. It's prone to sitting at the wrong angle, so this is something you've got to be more careful with. So again, disclaimer, this is not about lining up claws straight or doing things really perfect. This is just the technique of putting the claws on. Get nice and fluxy. Right, I'm going to give up trying to show this. My camera just will not focus on it. This camera is having a funny day. It just will not focus today, so I can't show you up close. I'm just going to solder it. You can watch me from back there. So the claw's kind of sat in position now. Good enough. But it's prone to move in, so my first way is still my favourite way. Okay, soldered. So I haven't cleaned up these solder joins or anything. It's just as it is, out in the acid. Which one do you think is which? This one is the one we cut half out of. I'll tell you why, I found that quite easily. If you look in that gap, you can see that looks sharp in there. There's like, it's like a bit missing. You can tell from looking at it from the side what's happened, how that claw's been put on there. And it looks kind of a bit flat, a bit kind of cheapy looking. Yeah, I mean, it's, you could clean it up and it'll be all right, but it's a bit tricky to hold it in the correct position. And even when you got it in there, tweezers, even just fluxing it and stuff, well, it did actually happen to me. It moved accidentally. So it's a bit more prone to moving out of position, but it might be, I mean, I don't know how better to describe it than a sort of a less skillful way to get a claw on. It works. There's sort of nothing wrong with it, but I don't like it because you've got this sharp edge there. I mean, it does look like what you've done. You've taken half the claw away and plunked it on the side. I think this one is still superior. It possibly takes a bit more skill to do the cut in and the phrase in, or neat and perfect angle, but that's the only hard bit. After that, you've made life much easier for yourself because a claw just sits in there in a perfect position, holds in there really strong, really secure. You can wave it around, you can jump up and down as you do soldering and stuff, and it won't move. Soldered really easily. This one was more tricky to solder for some reason. I don't know whether that was just me being stupid or what. I added too much solder on accident. You can see on top, solder went the wrong way when I was trying to do it. I think that was just me having a bad day. Yeah, this one doesn't have that same issue of looking at the side. It looks like a nice round piece of metal that's sort of shot through the side a little bit. It's a bit more classy looking. And I believe there's more surface area soldered to the side of the collet, so I believe that's stronger on there as well. So I may as well just finish this off. I will get my rubber wheels out and I will clean up both claws. And then after cleaning up the solder joins, see if one is definitely better than the other. I suspect the one we filed out will look a bit flat and crappy compared to the other one. But anyway, I'll just bomb ahead and clean up all the solder joins and stuff and then have a look at them. Right, so I'm just going around it, rubber wheeling up and down the solder joins. I'll tell you one thing for definite, the one where we filed it out is weaker than the solid one. Twice now. I bent it that way accidentally and I bent it that way accidentally. I had to keep straightening it. The one that's just a nice round bit of wire in its position is much stronger than that one. It's more prone to bending. So 100%, the way I've been doing it for years is still the best way. So yeah, it's always cool to do experiments like that. I do quite enjoy that about this channel. I am having to go over things that I've just done naturally, feels very naturally, but when I've given a bit of thought, there are alternative ways, so it's nice to actually try one way next to the other and then look at the results and then give them a comparison. But this has confirmed to me that the way I usually make things is still the best. Perhaps a bit more skillful to do, but it's stronger, more high quality way to do things. Maybe if you're making diamond pieces, do it my way, and if you're making moissanite pieces, you do it the filing out the claw way. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something useful and you can take away something. Whatever you learn from me on this channel, you are duty bound to pass on the information and the knowledge to other people, and it helps the whole community of jewelers grow and increase the skill and the knowledge and people's abilities. Get it all up there. So handmade jewellery will just be a very normal thing again. We're fighting a fight against CAD and 3D printers and stuff and robots banging out cheap commodities. So anyway, yeah, cool. Okay, and last but certainly not least, I want to say thank you in person to the most recent patrons to the channel. We've got Adrian Blowfield, Jacqueline W. Davis, Penny Albertella. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Penny Albertea, that's probably more likely to be pronounced. Yeah, thank you guys, really appreciate that. You're really helping me and encouraging me to work harder and do more, because patrons are paying me money, yeah, so I feel like I owe them something more than what I'm already giving, so it really encourages me to work hard and give more value to people who are sending money. So I really appreciate that. It's a really nice thing. Yeah, thank you. So join me again for the next video. Stay tuned. See ya.